we need to prepare for Ramadan. First, I will start with the verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the day in which no wealth or children will benefit a person, except for the one who comes with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said one thing: pure heart, healthy heart, sound heart. So on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying there is nothing will benefit you except your heart. If your heart is pure, sound, this is what benefits you. And this is what Allah said about Ibrahim, that he came with a pure heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the word heart has been mentioned in the Quran so many times, including the sickness. In the third page of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَض. They have heart, they have diseases, they have sickness in their heart. And when they do not cure their hearts from the sickness, Allah will increase this sickness. فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. That if we not take care of our hearts, unfortunately, they will become more sick until they die. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. The Prophet ﷺ concluded this in one hadith that's narrated by Bukhari and Muslim and all the narrators. It's very strong and sound hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, beware, in our bodies there is a piece of flesh. If it is healthy and pure, the entire body will be healthy, spiritual. And if it is sick, the entire body will be sick. And the Prophet ﷺ pointed to his heart and he said, it is the heart. If our hearts are sick, our eyes will be sick. Will not be able to stop our eyes from looking at the haram. When you can't lower your gaze, it's not from your eye. The problem is not for your eye. It's from the heart. Your heart's not strong enough to control your eyes. If your heart is sick, your eyes will not be able to fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have a sin that you cannot stop, it is your heart. Don't look for other places. It is your heart that's sick. If you don't feel khushu' during the prayers and you can't cry, the tears are not coming out of your eyes are dry. The problem again is not your eyes, it is your heart. Do you remember Ramadan? When at the end of Ramadan we feel different. During especially the night of power, you start feeling the beauty of the Quran. We stand up for hours in the prayers and we don't feel tired, we feel sweetness. We used to raise our hands and say a lot of dua. We used to read the Quran every day. What happened? This is the sickness of the heart. And the Prophet ﷺ explained another authentic hadith how the heart gets sick. He said the temptations keeps presented in front of the heart as the wooden stick by stick. And if the heart likes this temptation and acts upon it and gets saturated with loving it, it will have a black dot on the heart. You see a woman and you look, you don't care, a black dot. Every time you miss a prayer, black dot. You don't go up for Fajr, black dot, and so on until the heart becomes dark. And he said, Aswad Murdada is so dark, black and dark. And he gave a very nice example. He said it's like the cup when it's upside down. If you try to put water in the cup when it's upside down, what will happen? It will not fill in. So if you try to put any advice in this heart, a black heart, that kept adding dots and sickness over sickness, nothing will get in, unfortunately. So I'll start from today until Ramadan, inshallah, and hopefully Brother Faisal will invite me to the future. So we try together because the company is very important, and by myself, I'll not be able to do it. So I'll start this practical series that I started it every year, and I've done it in different places. Is how to prepare so we can get the best of Ramadan. So when someone is sick, they need to cure themselves, physical sickness, right? Sometimes you need to take medication. The medicine might be like taste sour or taste a bad taste. But we still take the medication to cure ourselves. But sometimes the sickness is so tough that it requires a surgery. And you might suffer after the surgery, for months. You keep suffering from the surgery, the effects of the surgery. But you have to do it. To get rid of the sickness, because if you leave it, it will spread in your body and you'll be affected of it. And sometimes people, they don't get solution until cutting one of their organs. Subhanallah. But they have to take a decision. In the way to purify our hearts, we have to take tough decisions. We might need to take some bad taste medication, or we might cut habits that we got used to it, so that we can have this pure heart that we're looking for. Therefore, if you want to cure yourself, prepare for the medicine. The medicine might be hard, but the reward is worth it. Most of the time, the change is not spending more effort or time. Sometimes it's just the change of attitude. I gave this example before. When you're sitting in the airport, the airport in the past, you used to go from the airplane instead of these new aisles that they have. But you see, the airplane is so huge. You see the other airplanes in the airport, they're huge. But when you go up, you still going up, you start seeing them getting smaller and smaller until you can't even see them at all. And this is exactly what happens. Is that when we start moving up, elevating our spirit to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we start seeing this life smaller and smaller until we're not interested in this life. The Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ, actually they were rich. The Prophet ﷺ in Ghazwat Hunayn, in one Ghazwa, his share, he used to take the khums of the share of any Ghazwa. In Ghazwat Hunayn, his share by himself was cattle between two mountains. But he was not interested in this world. I mean, those cattle between two mountains, billions of dollars. And one man said to him, "You have all of these cattle?" And he told him, "Do you like it?" He said, "Oh yeah." Tell them, "Take it off." And the man, when he was taking all of that, he kept looking behind him. He thought that he would tell him, "Come back." And the Prophet looking at him and smiling. He doesn't care about this wealth and this life. He used to sleep in something that was harsh on him and make marks on his shoulder. And when they said to him, you need something that's more softer. Today we look for Tempur-Pedic, memory foam, we look for things that are so comfy to make us sleep more. And when they gave him something a little bit more comfy than the one that he used to sleep on, he slept a little bit more and he missed few minutes or few time that's in Qiyam al-Layl, in Tahajjud. So he threw it away and he returned it back. He doesn't want this life. He doesn't want to be attached to this life. He wants to be attached to the hereafter. And let's always think, when we walk in this trap, it's a trap that we will walk in it together. You need to always put this verse in front of you. يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the day that no wealth or children will benefit anyone except the pure heart. The question now, how can we pure our hearts? Unfortunately, it will not happen immediately, except sometimes it happens immediately if Allah gifted you with this. It happened to me one time. It's like, yeah, I don't know how it happened, but I felt this sweetness and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes it might happen that you have a calamity and you make dua and Allah accepts your dua and removes all your hardship. And you feel the sweetness of the acceptance of dua and you feel the love of Allah and you feel it in your heart. Allah gifts you this purification of hearts, this sweetness that you feel it. So it might be a gift. But if you lost it, it will be very hard to get it back. You will keep remember those days when you feel the sweetness of qiyam between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking Allah. When you make dua and you feel the tears are coming out of your eyes. When you read the Quran and you feel the sweetness in your heart. And you say, what happened to me? Actually, you need to work again to get this state back. The first thing, you need to recognize that you have sickness in your heart and accepting taking the medication. It's very hard, but usually ask yourself those questions. How are you doing today with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What's your relation with Allah? When you stand in the prayer, do you feel the khushu'? Do you feel the Quran? Do you read the Quran every day? Do you feel the longing to the night so you stand up and pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you make the fluent dua every day without stopping at all? If you're not answering yes, then there is a sickness in your heart. Is there a sin that you can't stop? There is a sickness in your heart. Are you attached to this life and you feel that you're stressed at work and you don't have tawakkul and trust of Allah? There is a sickness in your heart. And the second thing, you need to get awake from the heedlessness, the ghafla, and take the decision. I want to walk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and purify my heart. And you have to take the decision. You have to take the decision that you want to cure your heart and walk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to be a better person. You want to go with this qalb salim, the pure heart. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. I want this pure heart. And you have to have this feeling and decision inside you. The inspiration that you want to reach this state of pure heart. And you need to realize the value of this life and the temptations that you see in this life compared to the hereafter. There's, this life, no matter how much you live, what's the maximum you can live? 100 years? 150 years? In the hereafter, it's for eternity. In math, they said if anything divided by infinite, what is it? It's zero. This life is zero compared to the hereafter. Whatever you spend here is zero, is nothing compared to what you spend in the hereafter. The day of judgment is 50,000 years. في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. The day of judgment by itself, only the day of judgment, is 50,000 years. We will be standing, we will not be able to sit or rest. It's a tough day. They calculated what is it, this life compared to the hereafter if you lived 80, 90 years. It's 2 minutes and a half. You're only living 2 minutes and a half in this life compared to only the day of judgment. Some scholar give an example. It's like someone, they gave him like a big truck and told them, okay, take this truck and you have 2 minutes and a half to go to this cave and get whatever treasure you want. And whenever in his way he found this beautiful lady, he kept looking at her, looking at the car, looking at the nice beautiful house, and he got distracted. All of those are distractions for the main goal. Our main goal is Jannah. is to have eternity in paradise. The fifth thing is to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to trust Allah and rely on Him. The problem that we panic, we don't know what to do. And we sometimes give hope that we are so bad that we will not be able to reach and do the good deeds. We will not be able to purify our hearts. We will not be able to stand against all this hardship in this life. But wallahi, only trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the only one who can solve all of those. And the step number 6 is the supplication, the dua. Do a lot of dua. The dua is a great medication for your problems and for your heart. And fasting, and as I talked so many times, and I will talk again, fasting is one of the great medications to purify the heart. There is one thing that was has done before, after the tabi'een and tabi'een, the people start to be busy with materialistic world. Like today, they've been thinking about materials. Either busy in this life with materials and things that are mathematic, 1 + 1 = 2. And their hearts start to be harsh. Even the scholars and the religious people, they only focused in one thing. The narrations and how it's very accurate, and the tajweed, and how they get the narration accurate, and how to get the hadith very correct with the pure sanad and everything. They were very good in that they passed all of that, but they missed part of it, what's called the tazkiyah, the part that to purify their hearts. And I'll talk about this as well, but it's about imagination and living the Quran. And I'll talk about this as well. How can we reach this part? Listening to stories of the Sahaba and how did they live this life. This is also affects the heart. And the last thing, which the main goal of this series is Ramadan. Ramadan is the crash course, and it's purely for purifying the hearts. You come out of Ramadan totally different person, with a pure heart. The problem that we don't prepare well for that, so we don't get the best out of Ramadan. And what we'll try to do in this series, inshallah, that we'll try to prepare ourselves, prepare our heart, that we will hit the ground running, as they say. So before I go with how Ramadan will be beneficial for our hearts, I'll talk about this imagination and living with the Quran. So in the tabi'in, the time that the Sufism started to come, so the people were two parts, like the parts are very strict towards the Nas and the Hadith and the Quran, and they don't do any new things, and they started to have the new knowledge like the fiqh. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to sit with the Sahaba, he didn't say, okay, today we'll talk about fiqh, tomorrow we'll talk aqidah, and then we'll have another hour, we'll talk about hadith. It wasn't like that. It was the religion one piece. And when even they talk, they didn't have this grammar, Arabic grammar, but they talk Arabic. They talk pure, good Arabic grammar because it's their nature. After that, when the Islam enters different worlds and start different language come to the Muslims and to our countries, the Arabic start to be forgotten, and the people start to forget how to speak Arabic purely, the Arabic that has how the Quran was revealed. They used to listen to the Quran, and this is the language they talk, they understand it. But today, if you listen to the Quran, it's very hard. You need to learn the Arabic. So that's why they have the ilm of grammar, Arabic grammar. And it's a new knowledge that they have. And then after that, they have the fiqh, which Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, and Imam Ahmad and Shafi'i, and others, so many people, Hassan al-Basri, all of those, they start to have how to extract from the Quran, because before the Sahaba only had the Quran and the Hadith. How to extract the fiqh, how to deal with the day-to-day life from the Quran and from the Sunnah. And they start to have the Hadith, how to have the narration, which is correct and what is not correct. And so on, but they left one knowledge, that has been taken to other limits, which the Sufism started it with, it's called the tazkiyah, purification of the heart. But unfortunately, they went to the limits and they exceeded and they went to some other wrong places. But after that, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim and Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, they took all of those and they've been able to correct it and put it according to the Sunnah. So there is one of the scholars, his name is Al-Harith ibn Asad al-Muhasibi. And he's called Muhasibi because he used to do muhasaba to himself a lot. He created a book called the Book of Imagination. It's the imagination of the Quran and how the narrations of the Quran. And he created a school, only a tazkiyah school. It's for purification of the heart. It's called the Imagination School. And he extracted this from the hadith. There is a hadith narrated by Muslim that Hanzala radiallahu anhu, one day he was walking and he looks very sad, depressed and angry. And he found Abu Bakr, he found him on the way and he told him, "What's wrong with you, Hanzala?" He said, "I became a hypocrite. I am nafaqa, Hanzala." Abu Bakr told him, "Why?" He said, "We will be sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. نكون عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يذكرنا بالنار والجنة كأننا رائعين." He will remind us with Jannah, paradise, and hellfire as we can see it. One day the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told the Sahaba, "I was walking in Jannah yesterday and I saw a great house and a really very beautiful lady inside it making wudu. So I've asked Jibreel, to whom this house?" And he told me, "It is for Umar radiallahu anhu." He didn't say radiallahu anhu. For Umar ibn Khattab. So I ran away because I know Umar would be jealous from that. So imagine he was telling Umar in his face, "I was in Jannah and I saw your house yesterday." Imagine that the Prophet sitting with you and tells you, "Yesterday I was in Jannah and I heard your steps behind me." He told Bilal that. And they used to cry when they hear that. But he used to bring the Jannah to them because the Prophet ﷺ used to visit the Jannah from time to time. One day in the prayer he told them, "I had this piece of grapes and it was getting very close to me and I wanted to get you one grape from it. And if I got it, you would have been eating from it until the day of judgment, from the sweetness." See, he keeps getting this. It's physical to them, something that they can't understand. But today we don't have this. Most of the khutbah, they're talking about politics thing, about things, other things. Most of the day we're sitting learning, fiqh, learning whatever we do, which are good things. But we forget about this tazkiyah, the purification of the heart. And this is what they've done. They realized this problem with this material world during this era, and they created this. What they do in this school, they only take one verse and they live with it. They imagine the day of judgment when they're getting out of the grave. And they start imagining how they are coming out dirty with dust. How they feel because they have naked feet. How they feel when they step on the ground. And when the angels, how do they look? Because the Prophet ﷺ kept describing those angels as they are scary. They said one angel that between his eyebrows is like between the earth and heavens. So they are so huge and they are scary. Those are creatures that we've never seen before. They know when they want to make some scary movie, they get some aliens, they put them look ugly. I don't know how they look like. So they start bringing this. And when you come out as in Surah Qaf, there will be sa'q, someone will drive you. They will put their hands on your body. How does this feel when you feel this hand? Tough hand is grabbing you. So this is what is it. Today we don't feel the Quran. We hear those verses, but we don't feel with them. So that's why it's very important. I have another series about taking care of these things, is to try to imagine and live with the Quran. But what this series is about Ramadan. So what's the relation between Ramadan and your heart? So Ramadan is our best chance to purify our heart. Actually, it is the best chance. If we miss this chance, it's no way in the year that you can do whatever is done in Ramadan. And I will tell you why. One of them, the reasons, because Satan's are chained. One of the whispers, it's a great factor that in the entire year is affecting you. This whisper that tells you, oh, look at this, don't worry. And you can make tawbah, don't worry, look at this one time. The whisper that gets you when you try to wake up for Fajr, just sleep 5 more minutes until it's shuk time. This whisper is gone in Ramadan. And we're getting the soul and hearts pure from the body. And the rewards that we get, the motivation and the company we have during Ramadan. But we can't just, whenever Ramadan comes, Ramadan doesn't come surprise. Ramadan, we know that Ramadan now is like less than 50 days away. So we have to prepare, because if you enter Ramadan, you will be busy trying to get aligned with the fasting in the first week, and when you start just hardly to start to do qiyam and not get tired, you'll find yourself immediately in the last 10 days. So you haven't get the best of Ramadan at this time. That's why we need to enter Ramadan with hearts that almost pure, that can take the Quran from the first day, so we can exit from Ramadan with a pure heart, and we can stick to it and stay fast after Ramadan for the rest of the year, hopefully, with this pure heart, without falling down after Ramadan again. So Ramadan is like less than a month and a half away, right? So what's your preparation for Ramadan? What did you prepare for Ramadan this year? Is it like every year, just comes and go? You do fasting, and when it finishes, you celebrate and stop fasting anymore. What happened last year? Do you remember last year? How was your heart? How was your heart, especially in the last 10 days of Ramadan? And what happened after that? What happened after those 10 days of Ramadan? After we felt this sweetness and happiness with the ibadah and the worship of Allah, we used to love reading the Quran. I used to read for hours the Quran. We used to stand up for hours in the Qiyam, either 20 rak'ah or 8 rak'ah reading for an entire juz, and the last 10 days you read even more than juz in Qiyam and Tahajjud. Do you still pray the Qiyam? Do you still do fasting? Do you still read the Quran? What happened? How is your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you still cry when they hear the Quran from the sweetness of the Quran? Why did we change? Why our situation today is different than the last 10 days of last Ramadan? I'll return back again to the hadith that I've said. It is because of our hearts. Because we didn't maintain the state of the heart. We didn't enter Ramadan strong, so we couldn't keep the state that we had. It's a temporary state. You know, when you had, it's like the entire year there is something, and then for 10 days in the year, or even 20 or 30 days, you'd have this crash of doing things temporarily until it's finished, and you take rest, you're tired. It's gone, because you only had yourself patient for those 30 days, 10 days, 20 days, whatever you've done in Ramadan, and after that, it's gone. So you didn't take the benefits of it. That's why we couldn't pure our hearts. It is from the heart. So if we didn't keep the heart, it started to get sick, affected with the things happening around us in this year. So why Ramadan is the best chance to cure our hearts? The first reason is that because Ramadan is a spiritual freedom from the physical body. And I talked about this many times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the creation of Adam. What did he say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what can be translated as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam from mud, from earth. His physical body was created from earth, from mud. That's why To feed your physical body, you need things from earth. You need food from earth. You need even the desires, things that live around us. And this is what we're doing the entire year. We're feeding our physical bodies. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَنَفَخْنَا فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِنَا. That Allah put the spirit, your ruh inside you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ruh inside us is from Allah. And our body is from earth. So for our spirit, the spiritual part, to get elevated, to feed it, you feed it with the Quran, with the tazkiyah, with tawbah, with tawakkul, with getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you feed your body with eating food, drinking, desires. But unfortunately, our spirit is locked as a prisoner inside our physical body. The entire year we've been feeding this physical body and keeping this spirit inside without feeding it. In Ramadan, we just unlock this. We tell the body, stop now. We even eliminate the halal thing from the body. You're not eating anymore. I want to feed my spirit. I want it to grow. That's why the heart, the spirit, the spiritual feelings, the spiritual elevation, it's the same as the heart, spirit. So that's why our hearts become better. Because we are feeding our hearts, our spirit, and we're stopping this physical body from getting, again, strong and putting the pressure into our soul. So we're freeing our souls in Ramadan. That's why this fasting, even in Ramadan and other in Ramadan, you have 30 days continuous fasting. It's a crash course. It's like they said, if you've done things for 30 days, it will become aada. And then if you've done it for 40 days, it will become a habit. It will be nature of you. So if 30 days become a habit, after 40 days, it will become a second nature for you. So that's why we have those 7 days after Ramadan again. So if you continue with this fasting, you continue getting those 40 days, you're done. You've been able to get yourself to train. And if you have something before it as well, you're there, man. From the first day, you're not suffering like every year. Every year, just we thought Ramadan is coming, and we start suffering from the lack of caffeine. We start suffering, getting the headache from not adjusting the time and day, and how we spend our day on the food and the sugar in our blood. But you need to prepare from that. And as I said, Ramadan is like 30 days. Even if you do fasting and some other days, sometimes you fast a day, leave a day, fast Monday, Thursday. And those, especially when the days are long, most of the time we don't even fast at all. So Ramadan is like coming 30 days, you have to fast them continuously. So that's a big crash course to grow the spirit to your heart. The second reason, fasting is equal taqwa, and taqwa is heart's medication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you gain taqwa. And la'alla, when it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means for sure. If you're doing fasting the right way, you will gain taqwa. What's taqwa? Taqwa, sometimes people, they translate it as fear Allah. Taqwa is a lot more than that. Taqwa is that you will always be with the places, the things that Allah loves. If Allah ordered you for something, not even order you, He loves you to be in some place doing something at a certain time, He will find you there. And if Allah doesn't like certain things to be done, He will never find you doing these things in those places. If He likes you to do jama'ah, getting up for fajr and being fajr in the mosque, even if it's hard, and He finds you there, this is taqwa. So taqwa is simply that Allah finds you doing what He loves in the place He loves you to do it, always. And He will never find you in some place He doesn't like you to be there, doing something He doesn't like or prohibited you from doing. And this is the 100% taqwa. And our goal is to try to reach this 100% taqwa by end of Ramadan. Even if you start slow, 10%, 20%, 30%. By end of Ramadan, if you reach 100%, this is the pure heart. Because staying away from sins are the things that really get the heart sick. And loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best purification for the heart. So that fasting is also give you taqwa, with some medication of the heart. The third reason is that, as I said before, devils are chained. As the Prophet ﷺ said, from the first night of Ramadan, sufidat al-shayateen, that the shayateen will be chained. Devils, Satan will be chained. So that, as I said, this factor, it's a big factor of what we do wrong every day, of what we're not doing right, and the ibadah that we're lacking is one of them, is the shaitan. And during Ramadan, Allah eliminated this factor. Just focus on ibadah. Forget about the shaitan. I'm taking care of the shaitan. Just focus on your heart. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of this factor that's the entire year is there. Fourth reason is forgiveness. As I said, one of the biggest reasons of the sickness of the heart are the sins. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during Ramadan, He gave us so many opportunities to clear those sins. Just cleanse your body, your heart from the sins. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever fasts Ramadan with the pure intention, sincere faith, and hoping for the reward from Allah, all his previous sins will be forgiven. Allahu Akbar. Just by fasting Ramadan, all your sins will be forgiven. You will come out of Ramadan pure from sins. And it's up to you to start dirtying yourself with sins again. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever will do qiyam in Ramadan, all his sins will be forgiven. If you did the qiyam every night in Ramadan, all your sins will be forgiven. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever do the qiyam with the imam until he finished the prayer, it will be counted as he has been standing doing qiyam the entire night, even if he spent the rest of the night sleeping. Subhanallah. See how easy it is? Just by praying the Taraweeh until the witr is finished, you get the entire night, the ajr of doing qiyam the entire night. The Prophet ﷺ even said that if you just do qiyam of Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, all your sins will be forgiven. Lots of forgiveness. And see this one, which is beautiful. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever will provide a food to the fasting person to break his fast after Maghrib, he will get three things. And the three things, everyone is more beautiful than the other. The first one, all your sins will be forgiven. Just by providing someone with something to break his fast. Even it's a piece of date. All your sins will be forgiven from this moment. The second thing, you will get a protection from the hellfire. And if you got a protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will not put you back. Just by providing a person something to break his fast, you will get a protection guaranteed from the hellfire. And the third thing that you will get exactly as the reward he has been getting without decreasing of his reward. Subhanallah. Whatever he has been fasting and all the efforts he has done the entire day, you will get exactly the same reward without affecting his reward. As you fast another day. You know that you can fast 2 Ramadans? If you break the fast for a person every day, it's like you fast 1 Ramadan by yourself, and by providing this other person you got 2. And if you do it for 10, you fast 10 Ramadans, and so on. And it's so easy. It's not something the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, we can't find things to feed others. We're so poor, and we can't find things to feed others. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you will get this reward if you provided even a sip of water. Who can find a sip of water? Or a sip of milk, or a piece of date. It's not, you don't have to do like a big feast. You just provide them something small to break the fast. Allah wants to forgive your sins during Ramadan. So just whatever you do, you will get the forgiveness. And the forgiveness will clear your heart from the sins. This load that's on your heart, that affecting your heart, will be eliminated completely. Fifth reason is that to be freed from the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ, in the same hadith that he said, the first night of Ramadan, the shayateen would be chained, the doors of the hellfire would be closed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to put people, so no one will be written for him to enter the hellfire during Ramadan, because Allah closes the doors of the evil things, of the hellfire, all of those. Allah wants to and open all the doors of Jannah so that you get more ta'ah. Allah wants us to do more ta'ah during Ramadan. Get into Jannah. Allah wants us to enter Jannah and forgive our sins. وَنَادَى munadi, that whoever wants good, do good, and whoever wants to do evil, just stay away. And وَلِلَّهِ عُتَقَاء مِنَ النَّارِ وَذَلِكَ كُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ, that there are people that would be protected from the freed from the hellfire every night. And in the last night, the people freed from the hellfire are more than the people that freed the entire month. SubhanAllah. The reason number 6, the increasing of the rewards. There is unlimited rewards during Ramadan, SubhanAllah. And when you have those lots of rewards, the good thing about it, you get this motivation. And the motivation, and you be with good company during Ramadan. These things brings you to do more good, which cure your heart, because doing the good deeds are the things for the soul, as I said. So by increasing all of those rewards, they encourage us to do more good during Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever will do a good deed in Ramadan, nafila, sunnah, something that's not fard, it will be equal to fard, because the fard is having higher rewards than sunnah. And if you do fard, it will be multiplied 70 times. So if you pray dhuhr, it's like praying for 70 times. So it's like you can get tons of rewards. It's like by praying in jama'ah, you get like 100,000 hasana in one day.
One salah.
Five salah, 100,000 hasana. If you pray the 5 prayers. And in the end of the month, it's like 3 million. So you get like praying 3 million prayers just by praying in Jama'ah. It's a small calculation. If you know math, you can do that. So you pray, the hasana of the prayer is like 10 times, 10 amthaliha, times 27 is like 270, times 70, because it's multiplied 70 times, it's almost 20,000. Times 5 times, it's like 100,000. Times 30, 3 million virtues. Just by doing the 5 times prayer, alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, the food came as well. So by doing the prayers 5 times a day in Jama'ah, in the mosque. And this is from the taqwa, as I said, because if Allah finds you in the mosque doing the prayers and the time He loves, then this is the taqwa. By reading the Quran, it's like 10 times every letter. The Prophet ﷺ said, every letter you read, you get 10. You get hasana, and the hasana, 10 amthaliha, is 10 times. And he said, I don't say alif, lam, mim, harf. It's alif, harf, lam, harf, mim, harf. So every letter, you get 10 hasana, times 70, times the number of letters of the Quran, which they said it's around 7,000, I guess. So it's like 150 million virtues just by finishing the Quran in Ramadan one time.
How many?
150 million virtues.
Only one time.
One time. And if finished twice, 300 million, and so on. See how much rewards you get? It's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving unlimited, so generous in Ramadan. You get unlimited things for what you do. Does this deserve that we take some time off and focus on those rewards? Reason number 8, the night of power. Actually, if there is nothing I said before, this is the most important thing, subhanAllah. The Prophet ﷺ, when he looked at the ages of the nations before him, look in the Quran. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Nuh alayhi salam he spent only in da'wah, not his entire life from he was baby until he finishes the life. Only the time he spent in da'wah with his people, 950 years. 1,000 years minus 50 years. So he lived 950 years, making da'wah only. This is minus the time that he grew up, minus the time when he was old. So 950 years making da'wah. So more than 1,000. How much do we live today? The average is around 80, 90 years, right? So when you looked at the ages and the amount of ibadah that we do in those, as if we are doing ibadah in 80 years actually. Actually, if you look at the 80 years, at least 8 hours sleeping, right? This is third of the day. So third of your life sleeping. So if you said you lived 90 years, 30 years only sleeping. So what's the remaining? 60 years.
If you get 90.
Yeah, exactly. If you only sleep 8 hours. You go to work 8 hours. That's the other third. So you only have 30 years. In those 30 years, you eat, you have fun, you go to vacations, you go to the restroom, you get sick, you get all of those things. So in 30 years, how many years you do ibadah? 5, 10 years? So even in all your life, 90 years, you get 5, 10 years of ibadah. So the Prophet ﷺ felt this is so low. And they heard, the Sahaba heard that one of the previous nations, he went on in jihad only for 1,000 months doing jihad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a gift to us. One night he told it's a better even than those 1,000 months. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says better, that means it's not limited to the 1,000 months. It's unlimited. It depends on Allah's generosity, and Allah is so generous. It's better. He said, he didn't say equal. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said equal, then it will be 1,000 months. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said better than 1,000 months. We don't know how much, it's unlimited. But let's take 1,000 months. It's like 84 years. If you pray 2 rak'ahs in Laylat al-Qadr, it's as if you've been praying for 84 years every night. SubhanAllah. As if you spend 84 years doing ibadah. So if you spend the entire night in i'tikaf, it's as if you spend 84 years doing i'tikaf. If you spend the entire night doing qiyam, you spend 84 years of your life, it will come in your scale in the day of judgment, inshallah, as you're doing 84 years. Who will miss this? If you've done it every year, you might get like those 1,000 months, 1,000 years. So let's take some calculations again. So if you prayed, it's like praying for 84 years. Charity is like for 84 years. Let's take zakah. Zakah is fard, right? So let's say you paid $1,000 zakah. So it's multiplied 10 times because the hasana is 10 times 70, right? Because it's fard, so it's 70 times 84 years is like you've been paying charity every day for 365 days for 84 years. So it's like 1,000 months, 30 days, 30,000. So times 30,000. So 1,000. If you paid 1,000 in your charity and it happened to be Laylat al-Qadr, it's like paying $2.1 billion to Allah. Who will pay $2.1 billion in sadaqah? But subhanAllah, in one night, if Allah give us this opportunity, 1,000 zakah is equal to $2.1 billion in any other night or any other month. May Allah give us this opportunity and make us among those who will get all of those rewards. And reward of the Siyam, I've been talking about this so many times, it's unlimited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Hadith Qudsi that's narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, He put all of the deeds in one side. He said, all the deeds of son of Adam in one side. كُلُّ عَمَلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ لَهُ. Everything is for you, except fasting. It's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He gives the rewards with His generosity. That means it's unlimited. Because when something is limited, they give the rewards for it. It's like you get 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 1,000 times. But when there's no limit, it's unlimited. It's with the generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the ajr of Siyam. That's no limit for it. And it is the one thing that no one, in the qantara, when people start taking your stuff, this is the one thing that they cannot take from you. They might take your Hajj, they might take your Umrah, they might take everything that you have if you've done unjust to people. But this is the one thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said this is kafara. It will be expiation for your whatever you've done to people, except fasting. It is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will give the reward for it. No one will take it from you. So the reward of fasting is unlimited as well. And in Ramadan, the fasting is even more rewarded. The Prophet ﷺ said that one day, if you missed one day, you will not be able to do it, to get the reward of it, even if you've been fasting the entire dahr. And dahr, sometimes people, they say it's a year or it's the entire dahr. It means your age, all the age that you have. Reason number 7, accepting of supplication. During Ramadan is one of the best months for accepting supplication, the dua, especially Laylat al-Qadr. It's one of the nights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the supplication with agreement with all the Sahaba and the scholars. And if you look at the verses of the Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it starts by Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, and he talked about the siyam. In the middle, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. If my slave asks concerning me, I am indeed close to them. Answer their prayers if they ask me. And then continue. After that, the rest of the Ramadan verses. Why it is in the middle? Because Ramadan is especially for dua. The dua is accepted in Ramadan. On Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ said there are 3 types of people that their supplication will never be rejected. And he said one of them is the fasting person until he breaks his fast. And the Prophet ﷺ said there is a da'wah, there is a supplication for the fasting person at the time of breaking his fast. That's why people, they make dua when they break their fast. There is a supplication that's accepted when you break your fast. So keep making dua. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us this pure heart so we can meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with qalb salim. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. May Allah give us this pure heart. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we enter Jannah without previous reckoning or even punishment. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we enter Jannah and we meet all of us in Jannah. Meet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we enjoy the company of the Prophet and we don't miss it as we missed it in this life. However, to be able to get all of those rewards, to be able to be prepared and not get stuck with trying to get used to fasting, the lack of caffeine, the lack of sugar in your blood, or busy at work, you need to prepare. You need to prepare. And now it's late, actually. You need to prepare. The Sahaba used to prepare 6 months before Ramadan, and after Ramadan, they spent 5 months asking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept Ramadan from them. Ramadan was a great thing for the Sahaba. It was a great event that you do not miss. You will miss all of this if your heart is not prepared for the medication. As I said, Ramadan is the medication for your heart. 30-day crash course for your heart. If your heart is not prepared, you know when you go to the highway, they have this ramp. So you can take the speed slowly so you can be able to get into the highway. If you go to the highway directly from a slow street, direct to the highway, you will crash, right? You will not be able to do it. If you've never done qiyam, if you've never done siyam, if you're always busy doing work, eating, drinking coffee, and Ramadan will start and you will crash. Maybe you get patient during Ramadan, hold yourself to be just do the fasting as much as you can. It will be a hard thing for you, but the moment Ramadan finish, you will get freed from all of that. You lost the opportunity to purify your heart to stay for the rest of the year. If you enter Ramadan with a pure heart and ready soul, from the first day you will end Ramadan a new person and will be able to stay after Ramadan. This is the key. If you want to steadfast after Ramadan, if you always ask, why after Ramadan I go back to whatever I've been before? Ramadan is something different. I always different in Ramadan. It is because of this. because you don't get your heart prepped out for this medication. If not, you will stay busy with life and will have worship without soul. You'll pray Taraweeh, but your heart is not there. You will not feel it. So what's the action plan? You need to cure heart. You need to know that I need to take the medication. So let's promise and encourage each other and help each other to make this Ramadan, inshallah, for our hearts. Let's make it special and the best Ramadan of the best of the years, inshallah. We need to cure our hearts for the rest of the year after Ramadan as well. You know, the society are chained so we can do more good deeds. You need to focus on doing the i'tikaf. The i'tikaf is one of the great medication. It's like going to the hospital. Have you ever heard about a person that he says that he found the relation between him and Allah? He can cry, he doesn't feel the Quran. He say, okay, I need to take vacation, sometimes sick leave to purify and cure my heart. We haven't seen of it. But actually the i'tikaf is getting away from all of this life, dropping this life and only being with the good company and focusing only on pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I encourage everyone to try as much as possible to do that. So what's the plan? So Ramadan will start around May 27 until June 26 this year. So you need to work from back to now. You need to have a plan. You need to get a piece of paper and start planning out, what do I need? What do I need to reach in this Ramadan? What's my goal? End of Ramadan, what I should have done. And I used to have a table, I might pass it by, but it's very simple. That I need by end of Ramadan 5 times prayers at the mosque. I finish at least 1 juz a day of the Quran. I need to have qiyam, at least 2 rak'ah. You're doing a lot of qiyam, don't stop it. It's like at the end of Ramadan, Taraweeh, 5 times a day. So you have this table that you mark it every day. If you miss it, you need to have something to keep yourself accountant and doing it. So mark your calendar. Talk to your manager. If you're at work, you need to talk to your manager. What do you need to do to prepare for the work? We used to send like some email that we're taking off this time, so people will know if someone needs something from us, if there's a deliverable shipping at this day, they will work around it. And prepare your work if you need a backup person. I remember one time I had to prepare a backup person for a month before Ramadan. I was in service and there's a on-call, so I had to prepare a backup. Don't wait until the last minute and they said, okay, you can go until you train someone. You spend entire Ramadan trying to train someone. And plan for i'tikaf. Even if you haven't done i'tikaf, at least you have the intention for it. And if you prepare for the best, you can go a little bit less. But if you prepare for the worst, you will not get anything at the end. And forget this life. Wallahi, forget this life. You're not getting any of this life. It's just 1 month, guys. And do tawakkul of Allah, because most of the people, they get worried about work. What will happen if I left? It's close to the reviews, it's close, whatever. Just do tawakkul. Rely on Allah and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only think of the hereafter and during Ramadan. Because we've been thinking of life the entire year for only 1 month or at least the last 10 days. Forget about this life. Try the tricks that I do. I start eliminating the caffeine gradually. So I haven't taken any coffee for the past week, for example, from the beginning of Rajab, to try to make sure that, because the first few days you get the headache, you don't have this struggle during Ramadan. If you're not doing fasting regularly, these things will affect you if you're like addicted to caffeine. So I stopped taking caffeine until today. So start preparing for your Ramadan lifestyle. So during Ramadan, you will have a new lifestyle. So you need to prepare for this lifestyle. It's like delay eating gradually, start delaying. If you're not used to fasting, start by delaying your breakfast until 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Start adding every day so that you get used to fasting, because the day is very long. This year it's very long. It will be 9 something Maghrib. So you need to prepare yourself so you don't suffer during Ramadan. and you get busy of trying to accommodate with the fasting, you might need to change your work hours. This is the things that I usually talk with my manager about. Is it something that you will sleep after Fajr and try to come late to work and stay late because the Maghrib is late anyway? Or some people, they do that, they take the coffee during the suhoor and they take good meal in the suhoor, and then after that they spend as much as they can, and they go work directly after Fajr and they stay as much as they can, and they come early. So you need to see how can you get with work, but you need to prepare first and get at least something during Ramadan. Start adding more prayers at the mosque. If you're not praying any prayers in the mosque, start adding gradually. Most important is to add gradually. The problem that we always get in Ramadan, we do the ibadah immediately. We go from zero qiyam, zero praying in jama'ah, zero fasting, and we do everything immediately. So we crash at the end. You have to crash. This is one of the doors that Ramadan comes. It's like you get an ibadah hard until you break down. Of course, if you haven't done qiyam the entire year, you will get tired from Taraweeh. If you're not reading the Quran, it will be hard for you. So you need to start adding every day. So from today, you have about 50 days or less. Start adding every day something new. Until you reach Ramadan, those will be habit for you. So you don't have to suffer from the beginning of Ramadan. You find most people, they get motivated, excited the first 10 days. Middle of Ramadan, no one. It's very low in numbers. And then they start waking up again on night of power or the last 10 days. Add dua. The dua is very important. Start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the best of the rewards in Ramadan and make you do the best effort in Ramadan and help us, because believe me, we are hopeless. We are weak. We can't do any of those without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do a lot of that. Start adding dua so that when you come in from Ramadan, you don't find yourself struggling making dua. We'll pray, inshallah.
Yeah. Is that okay, everybody? Pray here. Yeah.
Start doing qiyam. I know it's hard now, but even you can do it after Isha. Start adding some qiyam to your time so that you get used to it. And start from today your plan to purify your heart and prepare yourself for the trip. It's a trip that we need to take, so prepare yourself from today. Don't worry about work, being busy, shipping, having a deliverable. Trust Allah, rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will solve all of those problems. Allah, I remember one of the years, I was just changing my discipline, changing everything, going to a new year, a new work, and it was just 1 month before Ramadan. And it was very tough for me to start asking for the last 10 days to do the i'tikaf. And I kept asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then they gave me something. I'm new, so they gave me a project that I didn't understand anything from it. And he told me when he gave it to me that the previous person, it took him a year and he couldn't finish it, so we fired him, something like that. So it's like something impossible, and it was an area that I was not familiar with. It was like he gave me like a week before the last 10 days. It would never got it. So by dua, and subhanAllah, it has been solved. It's like I found it solved by itself. SubhanAllah, I don't know how it happened, but everything that I was to do, it was done by someone else. All what I've done is just reverse integrate to our branch. It's like getting the code to the branch, and it was done, and I got promoted even for it. Well, alhamdulillah, I've done the i'tikaf, and they were happy even for it. So things might happen. Shaitan will throw things in your way to try to get you away from this, because you will get the shaitan is very angry, because whatever he's doing the entire year will be missed in this Ramadan. All your sins that he worked hard for you to get into will be forgiven in Ramadan. Your heart will be pure after he worked hard to get your heart black and get used to the sins and get used not to do the obedience. So he will try to throw whatever is possible in your way. Rely on Allah. And Allah will solve you all of those problems. Do a lot of dua. I will keep emphasize. Nothing will be solved without the dua of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to finish things before Ramadan. If you even had to stay late to finish things and be free on Ramadan, even if you stayed late at work now, to free yourself in Ramadan, you will get rewarded for this time because you're doing it in ibadah, because you're freeing yourself to do more ibadah. So even try, put the plan and see if your things will fit before Ramadan or not. If you do, to add more time. We plan for everything. Why don't we plan for Ramadan? So those are the questions that I said. I feel to know if you have sickness in your heart. Do you feel the Quran? You need to ask your questions to yourself, and you need to answer yourself actually an honest answer. Do you feel the Quran? Do you cry on prayers? Actually, people cry during prayers. Some people, they say, oh, it's not. I mean, when we get very far and our hearts get very solid, we just feel it's something weird. But actually, people, when they hear the Quran, they start feeling it. Do you make influent dua? When you make dua, you feel that you make it easy, an influent dua, or when you raise your heart, you don't know what to do. There is a wahsha between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you can't fix it. Do you do the daily zikr? You do the dhikr every day that's required from you, or just forget it? Do you get closer to Allah every day? Do you love Allah and the Prophet? This is a very deep question. Ask yourself, do you really love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or do you love this life more? Does Allah love you? This is a very important question, and everyone can feel if Allah loves him or not. Is it easy to lower your gaze, or it's hard to get away of the sin? Did you reduce your TV watch time, or you spend a lot of time in front of the TV? Do you make tawbah every day from the sins? Did you plan to fix your shortcomings and increase your good deeds, or just it's another day, I don't care? Do you trust Allah and rely on Him? The trust of Allah is not an easy thing. And some people, they say, we trust Allah, but they really don't trust Allah. When Allah gives them the calamity, they crash. We crash and we don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us that we are not honest with ourselves. We say we do tawakkul, we talk about tawakkul, but we panic quickly and we crash because we don't trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you do qiyam every night? Do you pray the 5 prayers in congregation? So those are questions, ask yourself. And if your answer is no to most of them, then there's a sickness of the heart and we need to cure it.